Come have fun with us and don't forget to subscribe.
What's up, everybody? I'm Rick.
And I'm Anna, and welcome to our review of the 1937 movie, The Life of Emile Zola. For those of you who are new here, hi and welcome. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel, which is dedicated to Rick and my bucket list of goals and dreams that we hope to accomplish in our lifetimes. And one of those goals for us is to watch every movie that was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards from 1927 to 2028. To this date, we have watched 87 movies as part of this goal. And we have finished 10 years, the first 10 years of the Academy Awards.
Yeah, with this movie that makes it 10.
Right, because The Life of Emile Zola is the last nominated movie on the list that we have watched and the winner of the year 1937. The Life of Emile Zola is a Warner Brothers movie released on August 11, 1937. The film is a biopic of the famous French muckraking writer and his involvement fighting the injustice of the Dreyfuss Affair. So Rick, I know that you are familiar with real-life events depicted in this story. What did you think of the movie?
I'm not here, obviously, to do a, historical point-by-point analysis of what's real and what's not. And the movie, at the beginning, they tell you, there's the first slide is, hey, this movie, it's based on reality, but fictionalized, leave us alone.
Right.
And so they know what they're doing. Leaving that aside, as a movie, because we're here reviewing it as a movie, it was interesting. I thought the title might, and we've had this issue with a couple of movies this year, the title might give the impression that this is a movie about something that it is not, in my opinion. This is not a movie about the life of Emile Zola. This is a movie about the Dreyfuss Affair.
Right, I agree with that. And as I was watching the movie, I thought so too, because they skip over most of his life very quickly to get to the point where he gets involved in the affair.
And then that's the rest of the movie. That's the majority.
Right, that is most of the movie. So I would have liked to see the life of Emile Zola.
And of course, as I was mentioning a few minutes ago, the movie is dramatized in order to, make it a movie.
Right.
So a lot of the elements are made to push in that direction, with the sole hero fighting against the world for justice and all of that. What also struck me as I was watching the movie is, of course, Paul Muni here, the master of disguise, is back. And he is good. He's as good as he ever was. But there's starting to be some resemblance,
Oh, like how much Emile Zola resembles Louis Pasteur?
Louis Pasteur.
What you mean?
Not only physically, because, it's the same actor and the makeup is similar, but also the way he plays them.
Yeah, I feel like the attitude is similar, but I wonder if that's just because the actor plays them in a similar way, or because they like to cast him in this kind of
roles.
Of a role, the guy who's against
injustice. Because even Chain Gang to a point was about that.
True.
But yet, I enjoyed the movie. It's always a bit difficult coming in, watching the winner of the year, because there's always involuntarily some kind of expectation.
Right.
Sitting there watching it, I was like, oh, okay, this is a good movie, but, well, spoiler alert for the ranking, I wouldn't put it as the winner of that list of movies.
Yeah, I kind of agree. What do you think about the dramatization? Because you mentioned it before. I felt it too as I was watching the movie. Did you feel like it was too much?
No, because it's a movie, It's a movie, they need to make it, somewhat interesting. Though the real life affair is very interesting. They didn't need to push too much. In terms of the dramatization, I wouldn't say that's the most glaring issue in terms of historical accuracy. Maybe the tone down, not the how much they bring up the character of Emile Zola or the surrounding events, but how much they tone down one of the main reasons why the Dreyfuss Affair was so deplorable, the rampant anti-Semitism that was present in France and in Europe at the time, is almost not mentioned. There's that one scene when they go over Dreyfuss's
file and they point out.
They point Jew. Yeah. Nobody says anything.
Right.
It's just that one scene so that the audience understand these are the underlying reason why they're picking that guy as the guilty culprit. But other than that, barely mentioned. Even when Zola reads J'accuse, very famous open letter that he wrote, mention to anti-Semitism are kind of skipped.
But I do have some information actually. So apparently the studio had Jack L. Warner, who was himself Jewish. personally ordered that the word Jew or Jewish or anything in relation to the fact that Dreyfuss was Jewish not be mentioned in the dialogue at all. For two reasons. One, because he wanted to make the story more universal. And two, because he didn't want to hurt the movie's promotion in Germany at the time.
Of course.
So.
You know, I find it pretty ironic. Like when you think of last year or even 2 years ago, a lot of people have been talking about, I'm going on a tangent here, sorry, about China, you know? Because movie studios or any companies that want to do business in China want to have the possibility to do business in China. They censor themselves, and so all these things that would go against the Chinese government, they take it out of movies, they take it out of video games. The Chinese market is still open, and everybody's always up in arms, rightfully so, but it was happening.
Yeah, it was happening back then too. It's not something new.
And I was saying a few minutes ago that the dramatization doesn't really bother me that much. There was one scene when it bothered me, and that's the thing with biopics that always bothers me, is when there's obvious references to the future that the characters or the story would not be aware of. And so at the end, when Zola talks with his wife and makes this impassionate speech about how the world is heading into a horrible fate with war and all of this, he could have been talking at the time of either World War I or World War II, which was just about to begin. But those are elements that he wouldn't
have known,
never been aware of.
Right. Yeah, I agree.
And then they make it seem also as if, if I could just live longer and finish my work, that would have any type of influence in stopping the wars. Literally, work is important, and any influence in stopping wars is important, but that's giving too much power to one man.
Yeah, but the thing is that I feel like from his point of view as a writer, you have to believe that. You have to believe that you, through your writing, have the capacity to make the people understand something that you yourself understand,
Yeah, but he had such a hard time defending Dreyfuss.
Right, true.
So imagine on a international scale.
Right.
But yeah, I guess, these kinds of impassionate speech about, changing the world and having a better future is the kind of speech that we've seen Paul Muni do several times in his previous movies.
Yes, that is true. And speaking of Paul Muni, how about we move on to some information about this movie and its cast?
Sure.
The movie The Life of Emile Zola was directed by William Dieter, whom we've heard of before because he's also the director of A Midsummer Night's Dream and The Story of Louis Pasteur. Another movie starring
Paul Muni.
Muni. And the movie stars, Paul Muni as Emile Zola, whom we've seen before in I'm a Fugitive, From a Chain Gang, The Story of Louis Pasteur, and The Good Earth.
Funny, earlier I was mentioning Paul Muni in his previous roles, and I omitted The Good Earth.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that was
one of his highlights. I feel like my brain is trying to forget that he wasn't there so that I can have a good opinion of him.
We were pointing out the similarities between his role here and his role in The Story of Louis Pasteur. I feel like the interpretation here was stronger than in Louis Pasteur.
Oh, you think?
I think so, yes.
I felt like they were pretty equal. It might be just the look that makes them up in my head, because they look very similar, the two of them. But also, it's the same kind of characters,
He does have that kind of a righteous rage to him, when he portrays a character who is going against injustice or anything that is unfair, incorrect,
Yeah.
But you mentioned earlier the fact that the characters kind of look the same. But the fact is that the way Paul Muni brought Emile Zola's character to life is very different here compared to The Story of Louis Pasteur. Because this movie was shot in reverse order. And so when the filming started, Muni had his own beard grown and, the hair and everything. And as the filming progressed, they kept cutting it and dyeing it.
And at the end, it shaves.
And at the very end, he shaves it completely. So I thought that was very interesting. He also put a lot of effort into understanding this character. He read all of Emile Zola's works. He also familiarized himself with the Dreyfuss Affair, and he experimented himself with all kinds of different types of makeup to make himself look older and like Emile Zola.
He is the master of disguise.
He is indeed. And I thought he did a great job, you know, like you really feel this character. You feel his emotions at all times, especially at the end in the courtroom scene towards the end of the movie. What do you think of that
definitely. I thought it was a great scene. I thought the whole courtroom part was actually great. You know, the way he portrayed the entire affair with the judge, you know, stopping the defense attorney at all times, and then the whole thing was fantastically made. And every time they interfered, you know, they were so emotional, so like and passionate. It's not only Paul Muni as Emile Zola. His lawyer, you know, was going ham the whole time. I was like, wow, let's go.
That speech that he gave was quite like fascinating to watch. I really liked specifically there's a part in the speech where he looks directly into the camera. I feel like we have seen
We've seen it in musicals.
Like, in musicals.
Maurice Chevalier liked to do that.
Yeah. But I mean, when they would give, monologues, we have seen actors looking into the camera, but it's hard to have the necessary intensity for the people to get those feelings. And I feel like Muni here managed to do that. He would look into that camera and you could feel him like trying to pierce directly through your soul as he was talking. No, you did. I felt like that as I was watching.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Yeah. So apparently when he finished filming that scene, the whole like cast and crew members, everyone gave him a standing ovation.
You hear about those stories sometimes,
Yeah, I do feel like this would have been one of those moments. The movie also stars Gail Sundergaard as Lucy Dreyfuss, whom we've seen before in Anthony Adverse. A very different role that she's playing this time. What did you think of her interpretation?
I mean, she's not there that much, you know. This movie is really, as it says in the title, the movie of Emile Zola, so every other character is kind of, you know, tangentially present. So we see her here and there. Her job is mostly to be sad about the fate of her husband, and she does that well.
The thing is that I don't know if it's just in the way she carries herself, the actress I mean, but it was very difficult for me to look at her as this character and ignore the way I've seen her before in the previous movie where she was kind of like the bad character. I feel like it was hard for me to like separate the two and look at her here just as the sad wife. I feel like she made more of an impression in her previous role.
Yeah, I didn't have that feeling, but...
And the movie also stars Joseph Shilkraut as Captain Alfred Dreyfuss, whom we've seen before in Cleopatra and Viva Via.
You know, for a character who's at the center of all of this, you know, he's not giving much to do with. He has some scenes when he gets arrested, and then the rest of the movie we see him in jail. He doesn't really speak. You know, it's to show that he's decaying, getting older, and all of that.
But really, like, the real life Dreyfuss wasn't that old when he got arrested. And he wasn't that old when he got out of jail. I
mean, he still had which I think the real life Dreyfuss is a character that would be more interesting than what we were shown here. We were barely shown Dreyfuss here because after that, he still stays in the army for years, fights war for France. I mean, it takes a certain kind of person to be betrayed by the army but yeah, in the movie, there's not much to say about his portrayal because he's barely there.
Yeah, you are right. But honestly, I feel like most of the characters are like support characters.
Yeah.
And you feel it that way.
They're just passing by, you know. The movie is Paul Muni and background people.
Exactly. And I feel like the movie producers and the writers felt the same way because all of their efforts were obviously focused on Paul Muni and his character, Emile Zola. The writers of this movie actually first took their project to the director Ernst Lubitsch, who was working with Paramount at the time. He immediately recognized the potential of the film and realized that the role of Emile Zola should be played by Paul Muni, but Paul Muni was hired by Warner Brothers, so he himself took on the project and then sold it to Warner Brothers.
We were saying that a lot back then, movies made with one actor in mind.
But I feel like that gives so much, recognition to one actor. For a director to have such a great script in hand and sell it to another company knowing that their actor would do a better job.
But there's something to be said about, new blood, If you just keep thinking in terms of like who exists and who's perfect for that role, it's harder to discover new people.
That is true, that is true. The movie was very popular when it came out. It was highly appreciated. The story itself was remade several times. Actually, it had been made before into previous movies, the Dreyfuss case of 1930 and the Dreyfuss case of 1931. And then it was remade later on in the movies I Accuse in 1958, Prisoner of Honor 1991, and An Officer and a Spy in 2019.
Oh,
so all of
last year.
Yes, all of these movies are made based on the same story, mostly the Dreyfuss Affair. In terms of recognitions, this movie received 10 nominations, the first movie ever to get 10 nominations at the Academy Awards. It was nominated, of course, first of all for Best Picture, which it won. This is the winner of the year. Also nominated for Best Actor in a Supporting Role for Joseph Shilkraut, who also won. Nominated for Best Writing Screenplay for Heinz Harald, Geza Herzeg, and Norman Riley Rayner, which it also won. Nominated for Best Actor in a Leading Role for Paul Muni. Best Director for William Dietl. Best Writing Original Story for Heinz Harald and Geza Herzeg. Best Art Direction for Anton Groth. Best Sound Recording for Nathan Levinson. Best Assistant Director for Russell Sanders. And Best Music Score for Leo F. Forbstein. 10 nominations, 3 wins.
Good.
That is a good record, right?
Yeah.
So that being said, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about?
So Dreyfuss, here we saw one for Best Supporting Actor. We were saying he wasn't in the movie that much, but I guess to the Academy that was enough.
I mean, I feel like he gave a very convincing portrayal, especially if you think about that scene when he gets demoted, publicly shamed, having his ranks ripped off. That being said, would you recommend this movie?
Yes, I would recommend it, if only to learn about this sad moment in French history. Look up the real events if you want to have, the true information, but I feel like this movie can fill you in quickly into the big lines of what happened. Yeah,
I would recommend it too. I think this movie is definitely worth your time, so go ahead and watch it. And that being said, I think it is time now for us to go and rank this movie. As you all might already know, every year we are ranking all the nominated movies of that year according to our likings and preferences. And the ranking so far of the year 1937 is at number 9, The Awful Truth, at number 8, In Old Chicago, at number 7, The Good Earth, at number 6, 100 Men and the Girl, at number 5, Dead End, at number 4, A Star is Born, at number 3, Stage Door, at number 2, Captains Courageous, and at number 1, Lost Horizon. Where should we put this movie on this list?
The winner!
The winner! So, is it the winner for us?
No, I was alluding to it earlier. I don't think it's number 1.
No, I don't think it's number 2 either.
I don't think it's number 2. I don't think it's number 3.
I
think it's number 4.
Or maybe 5.
Oh, 5. So A Star is Born, above or below is the question right now.
Yeah.
It's an interesting year because we have a lot of movies that are similar. So like An Old Chicago is a knockoff of San Francisco, and so this movie we compared a lot to Louis Pasteur,
yes.
Even though the stories are totally different, it has the same kind of feel.
Yeah, a little bit.
And A Star is Born to me feels a lot like A Stage Door.
The reason why I am hesitating here is because I feel like A Star is Born does a better job at presenting you a more complex kind of situations by flashing out more of the characters involved, whereas
this is a one-man show,
yeah. Which, by the way, great one-man show, great main actor, but that's all you remember of this. That's all I remember of this movie.
On the underlying story too.
Yeah, obviously the story, but I mean as as interpretation, the feelings that are being said. Like in A Star is Born, both main characters do a great job, and a lot of the background characters are also like, I feel, more present. The director, even the grandmother, who only has 2 scenes, I feel like
is more fleshed out. You're right. Okay, yeah, I'll go with it.
But that is my only reason. Otherwise, I actually feel like The Life of Emile Zola is a more interesting story, has a more interesting story. Don't jump to it. What do you think?
Here's what I'll say though, is that even though, we've said numerous times this is a one-man show, the other characters are kind of just passing by, but they're passing by in such a strong way. That defense lawyer, he's only there for a few scenes, but you remember him. Dreyfuss, we said, like, wish he would have been there more, but he's remembered. He even won the Academy Award, They're not as fleshed out, but they're impactful.
Okay, so then it would be number 4, The Life of Emile Zola.
I would put it at number 4.
Okay.
And my point about the character was just that in both cases, the characters bring something. And so if you push that aside, then you're left with the story. I feel like Emile Zola
does have a better story, yes. Okay, so then that is it. It is decided. We have the final ranking of the year 1937.
It seems like it.
It seems like it. So, the new ranking of the year 1937, the final ranking of the year 1937 is at number 10, The Awful Truth, at number 9, In All Chicago, at number 8, The Good Earth, at number 7, 100 Men and the Girl, at number 6, Dead End, at number 5, A Star is Born, at number 4, The Life of Emile Zola, at number 3, Stage Door, at number 2, Captain's Courageous, and at number 1, Lost Horizon.
Now let's go find Shangri-La and get out of here.
So that is it. One more year done.
Yeah.
The first decade.
True.
Out of our 101 years of Academy Awards movies that we want to watch.
Yeah.
It feels great, doesn't it? Minus two movies that we could not
get to right now.
Right? If you guys want to follow us through this adventure and through all of our other adventures, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. This channel, by the way, is not just about reviewing movies, it's a bucket list channel. And we have so many goals and dreams on this bucket list. Things like traveling, learning new things, self-growth, playing games, and we're making videos about all of them and bringing them all to you. So yeah, subscribe if you want to follow us through our adventures. And don't forget, if you yourself have a goal or a dream that you hope to accomplish, take that first step.